there's definitely an arrogance I still notice in me. I had my neighbour Philip just ring the doorbell. He wanted to know how Mum was, and honestly I can't tell him. I don't know how she is. She's just carrying on. She's just dealing with what she's dealing with day by day by day, but she's still in hospital. But he already knew that. It's a strange thing. He's been ringing here, but no answer. I told him that the phone's switched off. What was the point of having a house phone that somebody can ring or leave a message on that she can't get? They might as well ring her mobile phone, which is in her hand. He doesn't have her mobile number, but didn't ask for it. I should just give it to him, and then he can call her. In fact, I'll slip a note through his door. I'm sure that Mum would be happy to hear from him. He wants to know how she is. And yet, the moment I started talking to him, I can sense that all of that sort of, he already knows. He acts on the fears, and he knows, and he's telling me things, and this is what you should do. It's a Jewish thing. All kinds of people do it, but it's one thing I recognise. Jewish people are always telling other people what they should do. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but if someone like me who's open to somebody, if they tell me something, I consider it. And sometimes they tell me things that actually they don't know what they're talking about, or they're coming from a fear perspective, and I don't want to consider it. But I told him that I'd just got back, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." No, not driving. I was walking. Oh. I walked up to Letchmore Heath and through the airfield, across the fields to the reservoir and back. It was a good walk. Not the most enjoyable of walks, but such a beautiful day. I went out. I'd never been up there, so I thought, let's just go up and see what it is. And I came back a completely different route, got a bit lost a couple of times. I opened the door, I knew it's him, and we talk, and there's talking, and we're sort of loosely friends. I know I can talk to him, but I don't want to. He's isolated as well. He can't go and see his kids, his grandkids. There's all this fear people are living with. I'm out walking. I'm walking along the roads. This is a sort of fairly rural neighbourhood. There's not many people walking. And as people are coming, as some people, not all people, but several people that surprise me as they're coming towards me, they step off into the road to go around me, or pull up a neck or something, cover their face and mouth. It's such strange behaviour to observe. I know why they're doing it, but it's bizarre. I have to be careful. It makes me think that they're seeing the evil villain in me, that they have to avoid me because you better avoid me because I'm dangerous. I'm very dangerous. I'm not snivelling or sneezing, I'm just walking, but they're avoiding me. So I keep away from the people. I keep away from the people anyway. It's very interesting that now we're actually being advised to do that. If I go shopping, it's going to be outside hours, not at weekends. I don't need anything. I've got plenty of things. Don't buy much, but there's loads of stuff. Let's eat what's here first before having to get more. I go out and I buy a loaf of bread and a bunch of bananas, and that's my shop. I'm not panic buying. I don't need to buy things I don't really need, but better get it just in case it runs out. I don't care what's not there. If I go to shop for something, I am going for things that will probably be there. If they're not there, then I'll get something else, or I'll walk away. But there'll always be food, and it's easy to eat food when you're hungry. It's harder for people who have very specific preferences to let go of them. Maybe one of the benefits to this experience is giving people the opportunity to do just that. But I haven't rung my mum. I did make my way of doing it. I made a recording, an audio recording yesterday, just a 5 minute thing. Oh, mum, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of just, I don't know, said a few things and uploaded it and sent her a link. And all she has to do is touch it and it should just play. I don't know if she did. Why I did that instead of phoning, just calling, which is what she does, what people do. I don't do it. It's like I don't want to know. I don't want to speak. I don't want to hear her say things about whether she, what's going on. She's got diarrhea. I don't know. I don't know who that is anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. I seem to be different in this solitude time. I don't feel like my reason for being here is her. She's not here, and it may be she's not coming back here. It may be that she is for a bit because of the situation and places not being open as easily and so on. But that doesn't mean she won't be back here and with a whole plethora of nurses supporting it. But my reason for being here is her. And with her not here, and I've expanded out a bit and I'm doing things I haven't done for a while or haven't done that way, coming and going. I don't, just kind of passing time, as it were, until I find out what is happening. And yet I don't seek to find out. I don't try to speak to her because I don't trust what's said. Excuse me. I mean, it's not that she lies, but she can be confused and she can say things that aren't necessarily true. So I wait to hear news from my sister, who's the one who's organising everything and arranging and talking to people. She's the one who'll tell me something when she has something to say. So if I don't hear anything from her, then there's no news. I can't quite settle though. I definitely feel unsettled. I can't see her. There's a long way to go, and it may be that they're not accepting visitors and we're advised not to travel unless it's essential. I don't feel that it's essential. She's being looked after. She's where she needs to be. So it's possible to visit virtually. I can text or call, but mostly call. I don't want to. It feels very strange to initiate contact. I can accept it if I receive it, if I'm told certain things are happening, but I was told that she was told she had 3 to 6 months to live, and it actually wasn't true. That's what she told Nicola, but what was actually told to her was that was being put on a form because they wanted to exaggerate a bit. I mean, it may be true, but they don't know that to be true, to help fast track her so that she would be at the top of the list to get placed in a home. And it worked. But somehow she then took that information and actually used it as a thing to say, which would be quite heavy to hear, cause attention to be received. It makes me doubt her. And so I've decided not to make contact. That's why I decided to make contact by making contact without making contact. By just recording a little message, like leaving an answer phone message, and then sending her the link so that she could listen to the message without having to speak to her directly. She probably doesn't understand why would he do that. Instead of just doing it, and that's the problem for me. So that was probably why I chose to do it that way. And it's a way of avoiding while also connecting, and yet it's doing nothing really. I'm not enjoying myself here, you could say. I can do anything. I've got wonderful things to watch, and I'm creating mandalas, so I've got artistic expression. I've got good weather and countryside to walk out in, food to eat, a car. I've got access to expenses, so I can buy anything that I need. But I'm not enjoying it. It's not that I miss Mum, but I guess I must miss activity, even though I'm often resistant to it. that resistance is a fuel somehow. It supports me somehow. And now, without it, a week of little resistance, just the underlying anxiety, unknownness that still remains. Nothing is settled. I don't know anything. But apart from that, I'm in a better place. I don't have those kind of negative, damaging thought feelings that make it so that I can't give her. I don't know, is it compassion fatigue, or is it way beyond that? Is it overwhelmed? I felt like I was having a breakdown the other day when, I don't know if I've mentioned it because I don't know what I've said in recordings, when taking her, the last time I saw her, when I was taking her to Harley Street for radiotherapy and Harley Street was closed, and having to try to figure out, because I don't know that area, one-way systems, and I felt like I was having a breakdown. I just didn't realise it until afterwards. I held it together, life helped me, and then I was able to stop driving and let go. It was too much, it had overwhelmed me, because I suspect I was quite close to being there anyway and needed this solitude time, needed to be alone, needed just to get on with it and forget about it. Just stop thinking about it, stop thinking about her. Although that's not happened, I haven't actually stopped thinking about her. I'm still connected to her, she's still my mum. But it feels like it's better for me if I act like that. I can't facilitate, I'm not involved, there's nothing for me to do. She's being looked after, Nicola's on the case. I can't speak to her in a way that causes me to have to do something that I wouldn't otherwise have had to do. She's very good at pulling at me, because on some level she does want a relationship with me. I am her son, and I see her and I know her in a way no one else does. And that's what's been going on, of course. But the moment that Nicola told me that they would be keeping her, I was under the illusion that we'd be just driving around the corner to the hospital where she'd be staying, but they'd actually be keeping her there. That was even simpler. Now I didn't have to see her from this point on. I could just let go of having to experience that underlying resentment feeling or negative something that stopped me feeling like I cared about her. If that was the truth, if it's the truth of it that I don't care, I can't care about her like this. I don't care enough to care about this. Then at least I have to be honest. I used to have to recognise it, that it was a relief to know that she wouldn't be getting back in the car, and there was fear that actually that wouldn't be true, that maybe it was wrong. I better not believe it until I actually experience her coming back and we're on our way. She's going to stay. When that happened, it was nice. It was nice to go back with Nicola, have something to eat, and then the next day she went home. And then from that point on, I've just been dealing with this. I may have talked about some things as well. I prefer the silence and the solitude. It's not that I don't want to talk. It's not that I wouldn't love to have company or do something with someone I get on with. Yes, of course I would, but I don't. So I spend the majority of my time on my own. When I go out, earplugs in, I'm still on my own. I don't really engage, and it doesn't matter. I'm not looking for it. I'm okay with being left alone. But I also recognise that something is missing when I don't get to exercise that aspect of me. I don't engage life sometimes provides me with unexpected doorbell rings, and suddenly I find myself having a conversation with somebody who seems to care, but I don't get him. He's very different to me, but he just cares. I don't expect anyone to care about me. I don't really experience people caring about me. I mean, I know Nicola does, but I don't experience it kind of that way. But with anybody else, I don't really experience it as caring. I feel very disconnected from people, and it feels like that's the best place for me to be. And there's no complication, there's no conflict, there's no issue that needs to be resolved in a compromising, balancing way when we come at things from a different place in the first place. What people generally want, need, are looking for, I don't really want, need, I'm not looking for, and I don't exactly know what I am looking for or what it is I need. I am happy, and it's not easy to even see how that comes to be, just having somewhere to be, somewhere to sleep, somewhere to wash. I'm happy with that. Anything outside of those things is a bonus. If I have somewhere to be, like I have been here for the last year, then as I go to explore the area, anything I find or enjoy out there is a massive bonus, because I'm just grateful to have somewhere I can be that's on my own, that's quiet, that's comfortable, that's warm and dry and safe, and I can just be in it. Maybe I recognize this unknown state I experience that involves mum, and what part is left, what part do I play, what role do I have in this. I can't seem to invent it or create it, and I can't seem to accept her idea of it. But then there's this feeling of, well, what happens afterwards, I don't know. And there is a sort of lurking fear at that. And there shouldn't be, and there's no need for it, because, well, first of all, my whole life has always kind of led me where I need to go, when I need to go, when I need to know, but not necessarily before I need to know it. And I understand what would be the point of trying to act. I don't know what happens when this finishes. I don't know the position I'll be in or what my options actually are. So it makes no sense to only consider and imagine what I can see from here. I've talked about this. Why is it still coming up? I started this about looking at arrogance. You know, when I walked in, I sat outside Lidl. I sat outside Lidl after I'd been intending to go into Aldi. There was a couple, I sat on the compost bags. I just had a little bag. I was going in to get 4 maybe. And there were a load of people with trolleys 100 yards long, queued up, been waiting, one for an hour. She was at the front. She even tried to intimidate me. She goes, are you going in? Are you waiting to go in? I said, yeah. Well, you know there's a queue. I said, don't worry about it. You know, it wasn't, what business was it of hers? But she had a mask on and eye protectors. She must have been quite afraid. And there was a security guard waiting outside the doors, as if people might storm the building in their panic to get things. There's plenty of food. Yes, stuff is missing off the shelves, but it's not going to go down to zero. This isn't the third world. There'll always be something. But even if that's not true, we're British. So as the door opened, I go in, and the security guard puts his hand on me, and he says, there's a queue. I says, it's all right. He moved his hand, and I just walked in. The other response which didn't occur to me was, don't put your hand on me. Don't touch me. That's much more confrontational. That's much more aggressive. I just wanted to say, it's all right. I'm just shopping. I'm just going in to shop. Just because people have queued doesn't mean that I have to. And they've all got trolleys, so you have to queue. They're big things. You can't all just stand outside trying to bash their way in. But the few of us who didn't could just go in. We're just there to shop. And yet, I didn't like how it made me feel. I did something that the others couldn't do or wouldn't do, as if I'm better than them, as if I don't have to queue up. They have to queue up, they think so, but I don't think so, and that makes me better than them. And it's that I don't think so, I can just kind of blag my way in, that has the arrogance about it. There was no thought of me, no idea of me going to the back of the queue to get in to pick up 3 things. I'm not going there to pile up and stock up. It's not my weekly shop. Going there on the Saturday was not a good idea, because it's the day that those who work during the week go. It's their day. I have done it before, where I go out super early to get there just as it opens on a normal day, and that's fine. I can be in and out. It's very peaceful. But this crisis time, that madness meant that actually really I need to be there when they're working. So during the week, and go early, it would be fairly simple, get a few bits, come out. But I'm not stocking up. There's plenty of food here. I want to keep away, but I also want to go in. I like it. It gives me something to do. I see a deal, I see a strange thing. In that moment where I get to experience being able to buy whatever I want with someone else's money, my mum's credit card, which I've been carrying for weeks and weeks, and just buy things. I'm very careful. I don't splash out. I don't go out to eat. I don't pop into McDonald's. I'm not buying steak every day. I'm doing it the same way. It's the principle of how I live, but there's something nice about having an expense account. I've never had one before like this. So I make the most of it, walk into town and just have whatever I feel I want. I'm completely free to choose something while I feel also responsible as if it's my money. So I'm using it as in the same way. I can't be frivolous or selfish, just like I wouldn't be with my own resource, because it's not mine. I don't really want to be a person who does that. It's very freeing to spend someone else's money. When I was involved in criminal activities 30 years ago and got someone else's money, a lot of it, yes, it's very freeing to spend things, buy things you would never consider buying, just because money doesn't mean anything. And just for a moment I could kind of understand the choices some of the wealthy make, because it just doesn't really mean anything. All the bills are always paid, they've got plenty of what they want, they drive a lovely car, they go on lovely holidays, so they don't have to think about things the way the normal working man and woman does. I still feel like I am outlaw. I still do outlawish things. They're subtle things, they're little things. They're not meant to challenge authority. They're not meant to have me noticed. And yet, the moment I do even a small thing which technically has people looking at me, I am noticed. I don't like it. I don't want it. And that's what sort of holds me back from seeking it. Doing things that are designed to have people look in my direction and be interested and want to listen. I thought that was what I wanted. Sometimes I start talking and I kind of like it just for a moment, but very quickly I don't like it. To rely on that, to need that, is very addictive, and I can see it for that. So I don't go there, which means that I don't pursue a path of talking about things, of speaking about principles or ideas or feelings or beliefs, being honest. Maybe that will come, but I don't feel like I want it. I'm not seeking it. I'm actually doing the reverse. I'm avoiding it, you could say. But I've always done that. I've always chosen to stay in a quiet observation than to get involved. I can look, but I don't want to touch. I don't want to say, I'm here, I'm like you, because I know I'm not, and I don't want to go through. It's very difficult to go around for someone who's sort of does it normally, whatever normally is, but whatever this Asperger spectrum thing actually produces is still makes me want to choose to do the most efficient thing in this moment. The thing that works for me most efficiently, whatever makes me feel the most at peace with myself in this moment. And often it's not having anything to do with people. It's actively avoiding those people, even though they're probably very nice, and I'm sure I would find it very interesting to know them for a moment, like I would kind of anybody. I don't take the chance because too many of them are not someone I need to know about. I prefer to allow synchronicity to take place, unexpected random encounter, and that be good enough. Then, because those things are out of my intention directly, they can be there in very good ways. If I can remember that, of course. If I get too caught up in my own inner world, then I might avoid the very thing that has come all this way for me. I've been guilty of that before, and I've noticed and I've recognized immediately afterwards what possibility was right there, what thing I never explored. I keep saying to the universe, effectively, alone. Live alone, be alone, do alone. It's very difficult to live that way when also there is a recognition that support is helps, and I like some of the things of the world. I still like to use them. I feel like I could let go of anything if necessary, if everything I've explored it, I've felt it, and yet I feel like I can use a tool in a way that's it's supposed to be used. You use it, and then when you no longer need it, put it away. You look after it so that it's there for the next time you need to use it. Don't keep carrying the tool around just in case, and then finding actually things to use with it because actually, well, you've got it on you, so you feel a bit bored. I am strange. I think I'm still escaping, I'm avoiding, I'm hiding, I'm not honest. I do withhold things. I'm sure everyone does it, but I withhold things because it's a kind of manipulation. It gives me, just because I realize something doesn't mean I have to say it. Just because I see it doesn't mean it has to come out. And yet, when I am more like that, as I can be with someone like Philip, who's willing, who's interested, who cares, there's a certain freedom of not having to think, of not having to care, of not worrying what's said, that I can see others who are more on the spectrum, more in that world have, and they don't have any self-consciousness about how it's taken. They understand that it's not always understood well, and mine is, it's like that as well. I can say things that are not always understood well, and yet I'm still affected by the fact that I have not engendered a positive outcome. If I engender a positive outcome, then I feel really good about that interaction, about myself having had that interaction. But if as a result of the interaction I don't feel good, I'm not trying to feel good exactly, but if I don't feel good, I haven't felt good, it bothers me. Something's not right if that's not happened. If I'm trying to be, if I'm playful, if I'm, in a good place, it depends on who that person is, I can bounce off them, banter off them, then more often than not, I do feel good. But often I don't. I haven't expressed myself well or honestly. I've withdrawn from people, and they must feel it. Even somebody that I might have had, like with Philip, went to see him, opened up, talked to him, went with him to the synagogue, reached out to the rabbi, and all of this, suddenly this thing that seemed to be my reality, that I was going along, until I stopped it, until I decided I didn't want to take it any further. I didn't want to do it anymore. I needed to let it go. It was causing me a problem. I didn't know how to follow. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I had the feeling that what I was actually thinking I was doing would not result in what I was imagining. And there was no way for me to bring up the subject or approach it in any way at this time. So one moment I'm positive, moving in that direction. Next moment it looks like I'm negative, I'm not interested, which is partly true, but also it is mostly neutrality. It's like I've let go of desiring or intending to follow a particular idea and insist on its outcome. And I have to be careful. It's one thing to say I don't insist on a particular outcome, but if you take certain decisions, you're almost constraining that outcome to be that very thing. So I'm deluding myself, saying, no, I'm not saying it has to be that, but yet I'm making these choices which almost mean it can't be anything else. When I recognize that, I let go of making those choices. I let go of putting myself out there, of doing that. Like I felt, at least in this state where I am right now, kind of limbo, where I don't really have a past. I don't at least one that I have to be concerned about. I don't really hold the past and keep bringing it in, except when I might be talking about something, if it's relevant. I don't have a future. I don't know what happens. I don't know what I do or where I go or whether I stay or what. I don't know. I have no idea, no plan, no purpose, no positive, ready to... It's not ended. There's still more to go. I don't know what that is, but it's not finished. And until it's finished, it isn't finished. But actually here in the present, where this is all there is, me sitting in a chair, talking to my phone, while looking out the window at a bright and lovely day, as things start to come alive and spring is on the horizon. All I have is this. That's all I can do. I can still talk. I can still do it and record it and make it possible that one day all of this is somebody's interested enough to want to hear the ramblings of me. Maybe not. Maybe that's another delusion that it will just disappear at some point, as I will. Maybe this is just a video diary, a practice of talking, the possibility of actually in the moment realizing something I didn't know I was going to realize, I had forgotten or never really knew. It's also possible. It's happened before. Sometimes I think I might not make it. Maybe I'm going soon. I have pains in my chest sometimes that make me go, well, if something really did, if that meant something, then maybe I'm going, so I'm leaving posterity. I don't have to deal with it. That's why I don't have a future. Maybe there is no future in this physical reality, this Simon life. I take my tincture. I never really experience any time without it. It's just part of my life now. I talk with it, I walk with it, I eat with it, I sleep with it. I have let go of real ideas of sharing it, but perhaps apart from my sister's the only one who uses it. If I'm still here, if this still happens and she grows another couple of plants this year, starting a month earlier with all the experience, there'll be a much better crop. And so quite a bit could be produced, and maybe that's an opportunity for me to finally do something with it. Right now, it's just what I take, and I use it in any way that makes sense to me at the time, taking more, taking less. Most of the time the experience is very interesting, even the times when it's difficult or challenging, paranoid inducing, or all kinds of emotional things. It's still interesting because that journey is very interesting for me. Without it, there's very little going on in physical reality that I'm interested in. And I do watch plenty of things. I do escape into YouTube videos and films and documentaries when the good ones are around. I enjoy them. I'm basically just existing. I just exist here. It's very comfortable. I'm not suffering, but I just exist. I just maintain. I'm now living caretaker. It's just very bizarre. I'm not part of, and I don't really want to be part of, although my sister, it is possible she will include me. I'm not part of the decisions about things. I don't want to be. And those who feel they know, my sister's got a good heart. I trust her to do it. She's not perfect. She can make mistakes, but she's pretty good. And when I know certain things, if I feel something about it, I say something about it. But if something is just done without including me, then it is what it is. And it left me free not to have to think about stuff like that. There's kind of a few bills and things, but she's on the case of all that. And there's even the renewal of the insurance, which I'm sure doesn't have to be that as much as it is. But if nothing happens, it just automatically renews. I don't care. I'll still drive the car if needed, but I avoid driving the car as much as possible. I like to walk. If I can't get there by foot, I don't go. And the only reason I take the car is to carry something heavy. That's it. I don't go anywhere in it. I don't automatically get in it because it's there when I think I need something. I go walking. It's good exercise. I like to be on the land. I need to be that slow. I can do it quickly, but sometimes I do it very slowly, and I can stop and just be there for a moment and just look at whatever it is that I'm looking at. When I go out into the countryside, I take my little walk stool now so that I can sit down anywhere whenever I feel like it and decide that's the position, that's the view, that's the perspective I'd like to sit in, and sit there and just be. Not have to seek a bench, not have to be concerned with damp or hard or cold. Is this a life? It's a strange life, isn't it? I am living, I do things, and yet somehow I'm not in the world, I don't seek that, and yet somehow I'm still living. There is a fear that this thing that I somehow have avoided for so long, the normal way of doing things, will impose itself on me, but I'd rather not. I don't wish to seek the support of the system. and receive what I might be entitled to as a receiver of benefits on a welfare system. I am entitled to some money. I just don't claim it. The price for receiving the money is too high as far as I'm concerned. And it was too high when I last received government money. The price is a lot higher now. I've watched the documentary about people on benefit at this time, and I can see how much harder it is for them to be unemployed than it was for me. And I thought it was hard for me to be unemployed because I was maintaining it. I was insisting on keeping it that way, while initially I had wanted the system to support me while I was a stay-at-home dad. I'm raising my daughter who's just been born, so it feels like it's a very worthwhile job. But once she went to school, technically I should have gone to work, but I wanted to maintain that lifestyle because I knew I could live on the money, and I could eventually manipulate the system enough to make that happen. Then when I kind of had a breakdown and was freed from it to be supported as a mental health issue, I was hoping for 3 months and actually got 3 years. But by the end of it, I was literally had a mental health issue. The resistance of everything is what causes me a problem. And here with my mum, I am in a state of resistance to so much of what happens. That's what causes me a problem. So the last week I've been breathing out. No resistance. But there's still a little bit of resistance, a resistance to her coming back here. I'd rather she didn't, and yet that's a very powerful thing to be in, because each time she's gone away, been in hospital, especially the first couple of times where there was talk of palliative care back then, I wasn't hoping she wasn't coming back. I was just living in the present with whatever was going to be was the right thing. She may yet have to come back here for a period, which may be the right thing. I won't fall apart if that happens, but I could tell that actually it feels like it's either so much closer to that final she's not coming back here, or it's already happened, I just don't know it, and there's a part of me that just wants to find out. When I'm told what's happening, then I'll feel a certain way. Right now I'm in limbo. And I'm not doing everything that I could to discover it. I'm not ringing her. I'm not trying to call my sister. What's the point? I'll find out when I find out. I might as well not be anxious. I might as well, having recognized anxiety, deal with it, use it as the opportunity to let go, not try to escape, not try to have my anxiety always removed and that I am free of it. I consider it a blessing when I experience it. When she told me that probably mum isn't coming back, that they're looking to put her into a home, and that there was just for a moment this incredible feeling of relief, a blessing of relief, of no more of that anxiety. I don't have to experience that resentment, that negativity around me all the time, the resistance to her. The resistance to her just being who she is, because there's so much judgment in me, or so much whatever it is about the fears that and I can't pander to them. I can't take them away from her. I can't help her to find another way. It doesn't matter. I tried. I couldn't help it. I still told her things about how I saw things that she probably couldn't have understood, and yet she did surprise me a couple of times, making me feel like she had understood. Maybe she's the only one who actually can, and yet I can't understand her interpretation of what it is she understands about how she sees me. To me, I see somebody who's misunderstanding, and it's not her fault, but that's what I see. That there's no way, there hasn't been a way for me to be seen by her consistently. I can show myself to her for a moment, and then somehow I disappear again, and so does she. That I can't sustain it because actually it was just my idea of it in the first place. And that might be a very real truism. It was all just my idea of what this reality is supposed to look like, is supposed to be for me, but actually it's just a creation, it's just a construct coming out of intention and wishful thinking and feeling and belief. All these things melding together and mushing together into something that appears to be solid, and nothing is. Everything changes. I seem to be resistant to change, and yet must be clearly in need of it. I'm happy in my little limbo bubble of comfort, as if somehow in the future it could either be more of the same or much less, a lot less. That actually I'm very soft, but I'm not a young man anymore. I'm not looking for hardship, but physically it's very hard for me to accept it, especially if I can see an alternative. I'm very creative when necessity is the mother of invention. Oh, sometimes the ideas don't come straight away. I'm not necessarily creative, bang, 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 bang. But the right idea usually comes to me at the right moment, even if I could have thought of it earlier, but I didn't. But at least I've got it now. Why didn't it occur to me that to do this earlier? I don't know. But at least I got it now. So this is such a weird time for me. Doing the mandala, which previously helped me. It helped me with Patty, and it helped me with Mum when I first came here, because I sat in the room with her with the television on and earplugs in and reached a peaceful acceptance of this situation. But I haven't been able to really get that, and I made a little mistake earlier that I've never made before, a little smudge. It doesn't matter, but that's not the process, that's not the focus, that's not the presence. That I can only seem to do a little bit of it, and I'm wanting it finished, but I'm not seeing it in this present slow thing, because there's nothing I have to resist. I can just stop and just look up, and I'm not being subject to speech patterns or thought patterns or television speech patterns or thought patterns, noises and bangs, and I'm not being subjected to any of that, and that lets me find peace again. And peace is my natural state. That's where I prefer to be, peaceful. So when I try to squeeze in front of the queue and just go in as if it's perfectly fine, because to me it's all right, he immediately, it doesn't matter. It's not, I don't have to be confrontational or aggressive, even though he had no right to put his hand on me. You must never put your hand on a member of the public. You're just a uniformed security guard. But he was quite a gentle man and accepted my, it's all right, just walk in. There were no shouts from the mob. They weren't dragging me out, pulling my clothes off and lynching me for having got in front of them. We are British after all. And I wasn't in there juggling, stealing. That would have been ironic. Go in there and jump the queue and then steal something. But I only bought a couple of things, 3 or 4 things. Quickly in, pick, pay, out. I don't want to be in that environment. I don't like it at all. My earplugs are in, and I don't like it. I just don't feel at ease. I used to be able to go into shops like that and just be very peaceful and just wander around in my own time, look at something and consider it. I might have an idea of getting something that I was going to share. When it's just for me, I'm only getting for me really now. When I would go out before, I'm getting for Mum as well, but I'm there to get for me, and I'm picking up things for Mum as well. But now I'm just getting things for me. No one else is here to eat anything or share it. It doesn't matter anymore. It's not important. I just get something. I don't want to linger too long. That'll do. Yeah, I'll eat that. Okay, I'll have some of that. Grab that quickly. It's almost like I can't see anything. I'm out of there. Maybe it's something to do with having mum's money. If I went in there with my money, I would take more time to make sure I would be less frivolous. No, I don't need to have that. Do I need to eat those? There's too much fat in it. You're just getting it for the sake of it. Oh, I've got mum's money. I don't have to think quite like that. She's got plenty. She is not short. But still, it is a kind of theft. I've stolen money from my mum before. I stole money from her when I was a very small, very young kid. Fiver, I remember, helped me buy a table tennis bat. I think I bought a table tennis bat with it. And it must have been because I'd asked for a table tennis bat because I wanted to play table tennis, and for some reason she didn't buy it. I don't know. Or I didn't ask because I thought she'd say no, or something like that. Anyway, I took the money. So I've always taken from her. I've always taken things. I've always felt like I want to take. There's something about taking without, I'm finding a balance to be able to do it where I'm not noticed, I'm not seen, or where it's not impacted. It doesn't impact on anybody. It doesn't really matter. It can be cheeky taking. There's all kinds of ways to take. And often what I take I don't even need. I just take it because I enjoy the taking rather than the having. But sometimes I take something that I do enjoy having. It makes me feel like it's given me more of it than if I'd simply not taken it. I mean, sometimes I don't take something and then I'm given it, and that can be very nice as well. But that relies on the ideas, the feelings, the thoughts of other people. And so if one isn't buying, which is also a form of taking, but an acceptable form, I quite like taking without giving. I don't mind giving without taking, but I've done quite a lot of taking without giving. And when you've taken without giving, and you like taking without giving, it's hard to ever let go of it. But I don't practice the kind of taking that I used to do. I'm not interested in the complexity and the issues that would arise from doing so. I'm no longer looking to prove anything to myself or experience something that would change my life forever. And yet, I've also had the idea that maybe the best place for me would be in prison. I'd have free dental care, free health care, free glasses, I'd have food to eat, somewhere to sleep, something to watch, people to talk to, just be looked after. But the only way to have that experience is to commit quite a heinous crime, murder, and you'll be locked up for life, or you've got to be nuts. You've got to be, insane. And while that may be true to some degree, some people might think I'm bonkers, I feel normal. So unless I'm in the murdering business, constantly committing crimes, trying to get institutionalized, I'm sure that it would not be whatever I imagine it could be. Whatever it could possibly have benefited me to do that, I would regret it quite quickly. If I should end up there, especially on the mental health side of things, well then that's how it is. But somehow, I don't know, whenever I've thought I've been close to breakdown, whenever I've felt myself break down, I somehow find myself back there. And I can continue as me. I know how to do it. Or at least I know I can go in that direction, and I'm ready to make choices. I don't know. It's hard to put it into words. It just sort of happens. Without holding a particular belief about what I think is, about the mechanics of the universe, about the way it works, I don't have it. When Nicola told me that my mum felt her hand being stroked, and Nanny, it may very well have been. Of course it could have been. But I have no experience. I don't know that to be true. It's still just an idea, just a belief. She had the experience, and that feeling was what came with it. But I've had experiences that I couldn't have understood I didn't understand really at the time, mystical experiences, but could easily put a construct around it and decide to believe that as true, because there'd be no way to disprove it, so it could just as easily be true. Instead, I let go of all of that because I didn't want to tie myself down to belief. If I believe it long enough, it's hard to let it go. You feel it as part of what you are. I don't want to have this kind of thing going on, so I avoid things that require me to believe them. If somebody tells me something, I hear it. It may very well be the truth, but I do my best not to just believe it because they're telling it to me as if it is. That might seem normal for most people, but for me, it isn't. I'm open. That I will take what someone says to me as the truth. At least it's a truth I need to hear. I need to believe as true in this moment. I might discover later it isn't, but actually, on the whole, I'm rarely deceived, at least in a way that causes me in any way negativity. The few times that I've experienced sort of being deceived, I was in such a childlike state, such a surrendered state, that actually there was great benefit to it because it gave me the opportunity to look at myself in a different way. Right, so this is a build up, this is a release of energy that's building up. In the solitude, in the silence, there is a lot of energy being built. That these recordings are like opening the tap. Philip knocking on the door, where when I opened it, I almost could have just ended it there and then. Not that much took place afterwards, but it got things going, and then the next moment, I'm talking, I'm making a lengthy recording. And that's emptying the chamber, and somehow the energy was filling up in the silence, in the observation, in the feeling, and yet I'm containing it and getting better at containing it and getting better at channeling it out, but not yet in front of other people. There is still a feeling of reluctance to just go with it. And it could be simply that it isn't right, or not the right person, or not the right moment, or there isn't anything I need to say. And I'm interpreting that feeling because that feeling is not something that I understand well. Feeling is not something I understand well. Yes, I feel. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes my heart aches. Sometimes I connect and then it doesn't stay. It might not be there at all the next time in a similar situation or with the same person. That's kind of how it's always been for me. Maybe that's why I can make choices like I can take and not give. It's okay. I can allow people to give me in a kind of way where I just receive it. So it's almost like taking without actually putting my hand in their pocket, and just carry on. And then if they stop, just carry on. I appreciate what they do, but it's I'm seeing it as they're giving me unconditionally, that there's no condition attached. It's not, if I give you, you got to give me. Can't expect that. You must give it freely so that I don't need to respond. Just like if I do something for someone, I'm not expecting anything to come back from it. And it doesn't change the way I think about you if that's what happens. I understand why it would, and I understand why I might stop doing it if I felt taken for granted, that I wouldn't want to do it and wouldn't do it if I felt that it was being taken for granted. I try to appreciate when I receive something, and often really do appreciate something unexpectedly given from the heart, but it's rare because I keep myself apart, so I don't get much of that, and it often feels bigger than it actually is. if I was a better person, you could say, if I was a realer person, a more normal person, and I sought the activities, went to the pubs, talked to the people at bus stops, had conversations with people in queues, I don't know, just what people do, experienced normal society behaviour, worked, pleasured, cinema, stuff that people do. If I was that, then maybe I wouldn't feel so strange when moments arise when words can be said. I hold myself back, I always have. I don't want to impose, I don't want to appear to be somebody that this only happens once to. And yet at the same time, if I'm always seeing people I've never met before, what does it matter? If I'm only going to see them once anyway, I might as well let more out. But I want to make sense, I want it to be valuable. Not just use them, not just use this moment to talk at them and then, judge them or be telling them something that they need to do. I don't like it. And if I don't like experiencing it, then what am I doing telling them that? When suddenly I find myself talking, I don't want to be telling anybody what it is they need to do. But I'm quite happy to tell them what they could choose to do. They might take it as if I'm telling them, this is what I want you to do, this is what you should do. But actually I'm saying it in a way that says this is what you can choose to do. And if you choose to do it, you take full responsibility for that choice. I have to say it in a way that completely keeps me in a state that is not attached to the outcome that they then experience. That my role in that moment was to offer an alternative perspective that they are free to take or not. Not to insist, not to have them take it and then feel that somehow I've caused a problem for them. I don't know what's right for other people to do. Only they can know what's right for them to do. And they have to weigh up, decide what that is from everything they experience around them. What they see, what people say, what is said. Unexpected encounters from random strangers can offer advice, wisdom that can be of benefit. And then it's over, it's finished, it's done. Next.